All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump in. I'll be sure to mention the tiny URL again in case we have people joining a little after 8. But on your screen, you're going to see a link to a tiny URL. So if you go into a new tab and type in tinyurl.com/412c360, that's going to take you to the Q&A doc. How the Q&A doc works is you have edit access to it. So you're just going to type in an empty row, your question, your name, and then feel free to, if you're on it and you know an answer to something, you are more than welcome to go ahead and answer that. I'll also be going through and answering questions and verifying on there as well. So we're going to jump in. So today, this training is really an introduction and kind of getting you into the tool called Classroom 360. That name is kind of confusing because we like to use the name Classroom in technology. And so now we have another thing named Classroom. But this is Tyler SIS K-12's new look to taking attendance, finding student information, and doing your gradebook. So for next school year, this is the gradebook and attendance platform you will have to use. So if you are a special education teacher, you're still going to go into Classic for now to edit IEP documents. If you're an office staff person or doing some of that side of the work, or if you're an administrator, you probably are going to be going to Classic as well. Everyone is still going to be able to press the Classic button, but you're not going to be able to do your grade book in there, and you're not going to be able to take attendance. So that's all switching to Classroom 360. All right, so again, if you're joining, if you go to tinyurl.com/412c360, it's going to take you into our Q&A doc. I'm going to go ahead and switch to show you what that looks like. All you're doing on here is, if you have any questions as we go along, type your question in, give me your name, and then again, if anybody has answers as we go along, you can check those out there. One other quick thing I want to share with you, and you probably saw this on an email I sent. Mike, Sam, and I did update our Tech Hub, and we made videos for a lot of what I'm going to be sharing with you today, and then some. So there's a video on all the major sections of what you need to know in Classroom 360. So if I move too fast, you want to go back, you have that there for you. There's a link on that document for today to get there. I've also emailed it to you, but a lot of what we're going to talk about today is also on here. All right, so I am going to jump in now and kind of start our demo here. Let me just jump back and make sure. Yep, we're all good. Okay, so first thing I want to say is I am on a fake SIS. So I'm going to be showing, this is a fake teacher, it's a fake school district. So when I jump in and show you that a kid has an allergy to lactose or whatever it may be, that's a fake information. So I don't want to alarm anybody. You could also be alarmed by how few students this person has in their classes. So this is fake data. So if you do see, because it is fake data, there could be a couple more things that this teacher has access to that you won't. But for the most part, it looks the same as what you get when you're inside of Classroom 360. So back on that login screen, you have the choice to click to go to Classic or to go to 360. In this case, I clicked to go into 360, and this is my view right off the bat. So this is the dashboard, it's the summary page, and this is what you are going to see when you go into Classroom 360. So the first thing that I want to show you on here is this big box in the middle, the My Classes section. This is where you're going to do a lot of your work. So the first thing that I want to show you on here is this filter. So the filter where it says Show Classes For, this is how you can filter down to only see a certain semester or a certain term, or to see everything. Or if you're middle school, to see an A day or a B day, that is where your filter is right there on there. So you can filter to see what you want to see. A couple more filters that are important to some of us. If you teach at more than one location, now there's a really nice drop down at the top here. So you can switch between Liberty and Timberland, or if you go between different schools, you can switch right there. Right next door, and then of course is your year. So if you needed to switch to your year. So I like how easy again it is. It brings those buttons right to the forefront there. A couple of other buttons and things to look at on here. So we're going to get into attendance and grade book and clicking these buttons. But you do have, I want to show this because this is a great help to me as I was learning. Right next to our home button are 3 stack lines. If you ever have trouble finding something, this expands out and basically gives you the words to get into a section. So if you're ever struggling to find how your behavior button, if you need to do a detention or to get into student information or whatever, that does expand there. So you can get in and find more buttons. That's in the top left. This home button is always going to take you back here where you need to go. Under that is settings. So one thing that 360 is all about is setting preferences and making it more personalized for you. So this allows you to personalize your view of this page, and allows you to bring other cards. So you'll see at the bottom, I have something called Student Search pulled up. So I just took Student Search from over here on the left, and then I dropped it to arrange. So this is just something to play with as you use 360 more to bring the buttons that you need right to the forefront. Another one I'm going to bring over is something called My Favorites. So I'm just clicking and then I'm bringing it over here to arrange it. Okay, so again, that settings button, you don't have to do this, but as you get more comfortable, you can make this look like what you want it to look like by pulling these cards over. I like to have My Favorites in Student Search pulled up. I'm going to press save now, and then you'll see these tiles are down here for me. We'll add to My Favorites here in a moment. Along the left-hand side, these are kind of your standard buttons. So if your school does announcements each day and you want to see past announcements, you can click to see that. You have your communication log. So just like in Classic, this is where you can view and add any communication that you have with students. There's a whole video on the Tech Hub on the communication log, so you can check that out if you want to see more of that. Data query, again, on the Tech Hub, a whole video on data query, but this allows you basically to take your entire student list and see information that you want to see by running a report. So just to very quickly show you, kind of the end result of this. So when you're in here, you go into your fields and you say, I want to pull student, let's say birth dates. So I find birth dates, I look under student, and then I'm going to take birth date. I'm going to add that to my roster query. And then of course I need the students, first names and last names. So I can pull student first name over here, student last name. Again, there's a whole video on how to do this, but I wanted to at least get it in your mind that this was here, because sometimes this is helpful if you want to, maybe you're going on a field trip, we get to do that again one day, or you want to pull some info about students. Then I'm going to go to the results tab. That's going to run for me. And then you're going to see here in a second, I'm going to have my kids' first name, last name, and then I'm going to have their birth date. This does your entire class list. If you wanted to go roster by roster, you can do that as well. And then you can go in and export it or print it. So you can have that kind of easily there. I'm going to go ahead and click to go back home. So that's the data query. Again, Mike made a video on the Tech Hub on doing the data query. You can also do it by your list over here by going to roster query. Again, there are videos on that, but that's what that button does. If you need to write a detention or referral, you got that button there. Your send email button, this is how you send an email to one student. I will show you mass email here in a second, but if you press that, it's going to bring up your class list. You find your kid, and then you get your fields to write them an email, okay, basically in there. So that is the send email button. So that is one student. And then you'll have some options with parents. And then if there's any counselors that are tagged to them or other teachers, you'll see that there as well. Student summary is going to let you search for students and see student information. There's a few ways you can do this. You can click this student summary button. Then of course you have your filter, so you can type in the student's last name to find the student, or once you find them, you just click on their name. and then it brings up the student info. This look is different. It actually looks a lot closer to what students see in Student 360 in the student portal. So you'll see in here that if I wanted to see about this student's grades, I go to current grades and it would show me their grades here. Or I can see more details by clicking go to grades. I can see their schedule here and attendance. So I can see all of these tiles here, and then I can click those tiles then to go into just that student's grade. If I wanted to see that grade, I can see all their grades there. So that's one way to see student information. I can also, across the top, the kid with the book button, the person in the book button, does the same thing. And remember, I earlier went into settings and added this student search. So again, settings, and then I dropped that little student search there. This also brings it up so I can just go and do a student search right here. So I can type in the student's last name, click search, and then it will bring up that student or anybody with that last name. So that's how I can find student information. We're also going to see here in just a little bit when I go into attendance and when I go into the grade book, I can see and access student information right from there as well, which we'll look at here in a second. So those are all of our buttons on the left-hand side. And again, this is how we can, these are kind of similar to what we see in Classic. They're just more in your face, more graphic to find them. Another important button, of course, and one that I'm so glad they did it this way better than in Classic, is the mass email button. So right under my classes, you'll see a little icon of an envelope and it says mass email here. When you click that, it then brings up little check boxes that allow you to check which classes you want to send the mass email to. Why I like this is in the past, you had to go through every single class if you wanted to send a different email to different classes. So you'll see here in this sample grade book or the sample teacher, I teach different subjects. So maybe for my pre-algebra, I have a different mass email than I want to send to Algebra 1. So I could go in and just choose my same hours here and then press my next button and then write my mass email. There is an entire video on sending mass emails on the Tech Hub. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it basically walks you through the steps. So I chose those 3 hours. Now, if I got here and decided, no, I don't want that one, or I don't want all the kids in this, I just want to check a few kids in this hour, a few kids in this hour, right? And maybe all my students in this hour, my first hour, I can do that. Here is where I drop down and say, let's BCC the students, let's BCC the parents, non-residential parents, okay? And then I can press my next button. And then here is where I type in my email. You do have a little bit more control over your formatting here. And then one thing though that does come up, how do I do a signature in 360? I'm going to now press my preference button down here. And under preferences and mass email, and again, if I'm moving too fast, just remember, I'm recording this. There's a video on how to do this again on the Tech Hub, and you can pause me because we're doing a live stream. You can pause and check this out. But under mass email, under preferences, so let me go back here. Preferences at the bottom. Then I'm going to go to mass email. And then I can put on, yes, by default, I wanted to create communication log entries. And then here's where I can set up my signature that'll go on my mass emails that I send out in Classroom 360. So then I write my email and then I can press send email there. It does show me who it's going to be sent to, so I can view recipients here. So I can just put in here, welcome to our class, whatever that may be. Then I go in here and I press my send email button. And it tells you who it's going to send it from. It's going to be sending it from your @wsdr4.org email address. I press send emails, the job queues, and it goes. So kind of cool. So that is how you send mass emails. Again, really helpful because you don't have to go class by class like in Classic if you're going to not send the same email out to everyone in there. All right, so that little intro was just a tour here. I'm going to check. So far, we're good on the Q&A doc. If you joined us late, just a reminder, I'll go ahead and share this tab. Just a reminder, we have a document for questions. So if you have any questions as we go along, feel free just to type right on that doc. I'm checking it. I will check it after the session as well and answer any questions, but tinyurl.com/412C360 will take you, if you need to pause here and type that in, you can, but we'll take you to our doc. All right, we're ready for some attendance now. So one quick thing, if I'm ready to take attendance in my first hour, everyone's here, you don't even have to go into attendance at all. So you'll see here, it's set up where my hours are down by column. I'm filtering to see today or whatever day I want. If I know everybody's here in first hour, 3 stacked dots under actions, I can just mark perfect attendance right from here and say, are you sure? Mark it, perfect. So you'll see that under that attendance column now, it's marked it as the P for perfect, okay? Now we're moving on to third hour. I don't have perfect attendance. I need to take attendance. I have a couple ways I can get into attendance. Number one is down the attendance today column. I can just click that little red icon, which means I have attendance to be taken. So you can see this little legend here tells you, it's not taken, you need to take it. So I can click that. That's how I would get in, or 3 stacked dots, press attendance to get in there. So let's move into attendance. Now, I'm going to click over to list view. You saw a little preview of the seating chart there. I'll talk about that in a second. But now I'm in my attendance view. So this has somewhat of a similar look to Classic, only it's much better, and here's why. You're going to see down at the bottom, I can show or hide photos really quickly if I want those pictures to be up there. I can also go into preferences. So again, just like in mass email, here's our preferences button. And then I'm under my attendance preferences. I can choose what I want to see about the students when I take attendance. So I don't really need to see their student number. I'm going to take that and move that off. I don't need to see their projected enrollment. I'm going to move that off. Oh, I can't. Never mind. That's a default one on here. But I do want to see alerts. That's going to tell me IEP 504 medical alert. And I'm going to press save now. So now I have my class list. You're going to see that each kid's name is also hyperlinked there. This is because Tyler's listened to us. Sometimes we need to see quick info about a kid, but we still need to take attendance. So if I need to get in here and click on Dakota, I can quickly see student info and jump over here and see a little piece about him. And when I press the X, it's still going to keep me in attendance. This is also going to show us alerts. So if a student has an IEP 504 medical alert or any other alerts here, you're going to see these icons. And when you click them, it's going to tell you, and again, this is fake data for those of you who are still joining. We're not seeing that this kid has chronic headaches and allergic to grapes, okay? So that's right there for you to see. Now, if there was an IEP here as well under alerts, you could click the IEP and actually click to open the IEP document in a new tab to view it. So this is really handy for you to visually see if a kid has 504 IEP and any kind of alerts, and they're clickable here. Unfortunately, we don't have a student in this fake account that has an IEP, but I've tested it in one of our teachers' accounts. If you have a kid with an IEP, you should be able to click and then click to open the IEP in a new tab to view there. So this also will show me, because I have the attendance history on, I can visually see that Dakota's been absent 22 times. I can even click and see the dates he was absent right here and what was going on with him. And then I come in and I do absent or tardy. This is what we're used to, right? If it's blank, they're there. If I need to mark A or T, I do that there. And then I press my save button. If it's perfect attendance, I can also do perfect attendance right here. So I can click to do perfect attendance. There's a few other buttons in here as well. So the mass tools, if I wanted to send a mass email to just this class, I could do that here. And you'll notice it'll let you choose the kids you want to write an email to. So you could have a good workflow, like kids absent when you're taking attendance. You know, you go down mass tools and you want to send them a quick email right from here while you're taking attendance. You can do that, which is kind of cool. So when I have attendance taken, I press save. It saves the attendance, and then I can go back home, go into a grade book. But there's one more thing I want to show you, which is the seating chart. I've already made a seating chart for this class, so I'm going to show you this one, but then I'm going to show you how I made it kind of quickly. There's a whole video on how to make seating charts in Classroom 360 that's already on our Tech Hub. So if you need more support with that, you can watch that video. Of course, you can reach out to your tech coaches as well if you need any help with that. The seating chart's kind of cool because you can take attendance from the seating chart. So you may have noticed when I first opened attendance, it actually opened to this. You can choose if you leave it on, so you see list view, seating chart view. If you leave it on seating chart view, when you go to take attendance, it'll always open it here. So what you do is you go around your classroom and you just press above that student where that kind of purplish, grayish line is, and you can change attendance to tardy, present, or whatever that may be right there. And then you save and you've taken attendance, which is really cool. You can also print the chart here if you need to print it for a sub, which is really cool. And then you press save. Let me jump into a class that I don't have a seating chart for to just give you a little quick overview of how you make that. But again, there's a video on this. So if you want to go back through that, you can definitely do it. So I'm going to jump into, I don't believe I have a seating chart for this hour, my 7th hour. So I'm going to jump into attendance. I'm going to press my seating chart here, right? So I don't have one. So what I'm going to do is add a chart. Now, once you make a seating chart one time, you can then reuse that blank seating chart to fill in. So if I teach in the same room all day, or I teach multiple hours in a room, once I make the seating chart once, I can reuse it for other hours. So I'm not remaking it. But down at the bottom, so if I wanted to, already made one, want to reuse it for this hour, down at the bottom, that's my copy chart button. If I'm making a new seating chart for this hour, because I don't have one, let's say it's a different room, I'm going to press add chart, and then it gives you this field to build your chart in. So your kids are on the right-hand side, and your objects that you could bring in are on the right-hand side. So you're just dragging and dropping, dragging the teacher's desk. If you double click the teacher's desk, it moves around. So you can put that desk where you want. Now it's not perfect. It doesn't have every object. You know, you have a door, front of rooms, and teacher desk, student desk. Then you can bring in your student desks, or here's a little tidbit too. Auto create makes it really fast. This is in the video, guys, by the way, again, on the Tech Hub. There's a link on that document, the Q&A for it, but I share this in that video as well. The auto create button, if you know you have 25 desks, you can do 5 by 5, go ahead, and then it gives you all of them, and then you can move them around. So you design it to look like your classroom, whatever that may look like. Then you can auto assign students alphabetically or randomly, or you can just grab them and bring them in to the desks however you want. So kind of cool. Again, what's nice is you can take attendance on it, which I think is really helpful, especially as you're learning kids' names. You can print it. So if you wanted a sub to have it, you can do that too. And then you save it, give it a name. So this could be 7th hour, room 230, save, and then it saves that there. Kind of cool. So seating chart for attendance, you can always switch back to list view here to get your list view to see your kids. You can switch between them, but that seating chart is definitely an upgrade in 360. I'm going to go back home, but I wanted to show you again, 360 is about keeping your workflow good and personalizing. So after I take attendance, if I needed to get into the grade book, the bottom left-hand corner will take me into the grade book for this hour, or at any time too, up at the top where you see those 2 books, you can jump between grade books there. So that's a really helpful way to get between grade books. So if I wanted to jump into one of my grade books here, one of my classes, and then grade book, I can get into that grade book. But I'm going to go back home. So I'm pressing my home button here. And now I want to talk briefly about the grade book, really, because that's a big piece of what we do. And actually, before I do that, let me spy on our Q&A doc. Yeah, Sam, I'll share a little bit about end of quarter grading as well. There is a video on the Tech Hub about those, but I will definitely share. I'll show you it when we're in the grade book, because now it's in the grade book where you do end of term grading. All right, so getting into my grade book. So I'm back on my home screen. There's a few ways you can get into grade books, but how I'm going to do it is under my grading due column. So you'll see where it says grading due. By the way, in case you're curious, we did some investigating to figure out what makes this red, what makes this check. So the grading due, if that is red under this column, that just means that you have some assignments that you've created and the due date has passed for that assignment, but you haven't put grades in. So it's telling you there's something that you probably, need to put in. And that's what that red means. So kind of interesting. So I'm going to jump into my 6th hour. I'm just going to click this button here. But like I said, showed before, you can click the 3 stacked lines under actions and then get into gradebook that way. Either will do. Now, when you open this up, okay, this is kind of where we usually are, is under our scores tab. This is where we create new assignments. Okay, this is where we put in grades for assignments. The assignments tab is just going to give us a list of all of our assignments. Our categories tab is going to show us what grading categories are available to us, like assessment of learning or whatever that may be. Report card grades, this is where we would click, Sam, and whoever, might be curious. This is where actually we click to finalize term grades if we want. This is not open all the time. Remember, this is only open for when your registrar tells you, all right, grades are open, they're due by this date. That is when that part's active. There is a video that shows you how to do that. It's actually pretty straightforward because the buttons are, right there for you to import, make your changes, your comments, and then you press a finalize button when you're ready. And then analysis is just going to tell you a little bit about the statistics of your gradebook. Okay. So the first thing I actually want to start with is up at the top. This filter is really important. Usually if someone has a question, it can be this filter part. So the filter is where you can see just the section of this gradebook that you want to see. Do you want to see first semester? Do you want to see second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter? Or maybe you want to see semester 2. So you see all of third quarter and all of fourth quarter. That filter's right there for you, so you can change it there. Next thing that I want to show you is the preferences button again. This is what makes 360 great, is that it does give you an easy way to customize what you see. So bottom, I'm in my gradebook. At the bottom, there's a preferences button. And then I want to make sure I'm under gradebook. I really suggest you take a little time to go section by section in the preferences and get it set up how you want it. You can always change it if it's not working for you. But a couple things that I look at when I do this is, one is the assignment heading. So this just depends on your preferences, but this is in what order do your assignments show up in the grade book? Is it always by date first? Is it by category? So that's that part there. So that's the assignment sort. The heading is what shows up. So what do you want to see in that real estate piece that you have with the assignment name? Do you want to see when it was assigned? Do you want to see the due date, possible points? I usually have the category, due date, possible point, summary. How much of the characters do you want to see? You can alter that if you want. Here's the assignment sort. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. So this is if you wanted to change. These are drop and drag, so you can rearrange them and play with what order they go in. Then there is a show comment column. I have that turned off right now. You could choose to turn that on, and that just means when your gradebook loads, there will be 2 columns for every assignment. And so you can easily type in a comment. I like it off because I'll show you there's a pop-out bar where you can type comments in. So if you use those pretty frequently with custom comments, you may want to turn this on. But if you don't want to take up that real estate on your gradebook, you can choose to leave that off, but that's right there as well. Here's a really cool one. When using fill blank scores, what do you want it to fill with? I'm going to show you this when we get into the gradebook and create an assignment, because I'll demo that here in a moment. But when you set this, basically you go in and you put in your grades for a column, and then you leave the ones blank who haven't turned it in or whatever that may be. And then what you do is you click at the top and you say fill blank scores. And then what it will fill the blank scores with is whatever you tell it to in your preferences to fill it with. So if you use the late, if you use exempt, if you know whatever it is you have the option to use, or you want to fill it with a score, you can do that there. So I'm going to leave it on fill with late. Again, you can customize this if you want. Auto save, how often do you want it to save? It will quickly run and save. So I have it set at 5 minutes. What student information do you want to see in the non-scrolling area? I like to see student name and alerts. If you wanted to see birth date there, or maybe you teach a class that has kids with different grades, 9, 10, 11, 12, if you're high school, you can pull that over to see it. So you can move those over if you want it to be in a certain area. Again, I like to see student name and alerts. There's a couple more things on here you can see as well. Like this is it, if you remember in Classic, you don't want to see, do you want to see future students, students that are going to be in your class later on in a future semester or term? Do you want to see drop students? You can customize that there. Okay, now that we have this customized, I'm going to press my save button. And then that's going to save for me. Again, what I love right here visually, I know this student has an IEP. I know the student has a 504 if they had that. So I can see those alerts there. And then again, those are clickable. And then I can go in and click to view. Again, this one's a little different because it's a sample one, but you can view that there. And you can see student alerts. Couple other visual things. This one I love. Do you see these teeny little A's that are here in the grade book? The A means that on the due date for this assignment, this student was absent in the system. Really helpful when you're putting in a test and you're like, why didn't they take the test? Were they absent? Were they not? That A just means that they were marked absent for your class period on the due date for that assignment. So really cool. The little C that you'll see in some of these means there's a comment for that particular assignment. So how do I view the comments? Remember, I showed you earlier in preferences, you could choose to turn on a column row, or there's a teeny little on the right-hand side. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I'm taking my cursor and going to the right. There's a little pop-up there that you can close or leave open. And when you move around cell to cell, it will open information about that cell right there on the right. So when I go to one that has a C, you're going to see this says retest. So this was a comment left, this was a kid retesting, and this is a retest score. So again, if you don't want to take up real estate by having that column on and my preferences, I can just use this little pop-up guy, you know, to leave out or open as we go along. You'll also notice too, right off the bat, that all the cells are open. So I don't have to release cells, release a row, release a column. Everything is just open for me to start not typing letters, type numbers in. So I can go in here and immediately start putting in grades, and you'll see right away that grade calculates there if I have semester showing or term showing. Let's look at how to make an assignment, okay? So how I make an assignment is in the bottom left-hand corner is our add assignment button. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and press, so it's saying you put in some grades. Now, before you make an assignment, do you wanna go ahead and save? I'm gonna press save and continue. Okay, it's just backing up what I've done. In the bottom right, it lets me know that everything was saved. Here's quick add, not a lot of fields, only the essentials. So if I need to very quickly make an assignment for this class, this quick add will let me quickly do that. However, I'm gonna go ahead and expand. I'm gonna press all fields here. And this is just going to give me more options. And there's one that's extremely helpful if you teach more than one section of the same class. So first, what's my grading category? Again, these are set for us. I don't mess with sequence. That just does that automatically, depending on the category, depending on my date, how I have that set up. Summary is the name. So if this was a, let's just call it essay. Remember, just like Classic, you always have to have a due date, and you always have to have possible points. So you have to have a name of the assignment, a due date, possible points, course grading, category, and sequence, but those are already filled for you, or you can use your drop down. So we put in our points here. Okay. And then I don't mess with anything else, but on the right-hand side, one thing that's really helpful is copying to other classes. So if I teach this hour, what's nice is it already does it for you. Here's your sections you teach of the same course. In this case, I only teach one Algebra 1. But if I have other courses, or maybe they did the assignment in all of my other classes, you can just check those there, which ones you want to copy this to. So what it will do is it will copy that column, the point value, the name of the assignment, and it will create it in all the grade books right now that you check. If you mess up and you don't copy to, you can always go to your tools at the bottom of the previous screen, and you can then copy it after the fact as well. But obviously, if you do it now when you're creating the assignment, it's a little faster. Okay, so I select if I want to copy this to my other algebra classes, the same assignment, so I don't have to go into each grade book and make it. I can do that there. Okay, so that's pretty much, there's some other buttons here, but these are what I use. And then I can go in and I can press save and new, which means when I press save, it'll pop up another blank assignment field to create another assignment. Or if it's just this one assignment, I just press save. Okay, so I can choose to do it either way. So here's my essay column right here, and I'm ready to put in scores. Let me go ahead and quickly just check to see how we're doing on the Q&A. Oh, sorry, I'm recording it. Sorry, the buffering. That makes me sad that that's buffering. So yeah, I'm recording it, Rhonda. And again, if anybody ever wants to set up a time too, you want me to do a demo with you, I can definitely do that as well. Sorry, it's buffering. Okay, so putting in the scores here. So I'm just going to go down my row, and I can go in, right, like we're used to, the set of 20 points. So I'm going in. Whoops. I'm typing weird things that are not right. So I'm just putting in my scores here. But one thing that's cool that I wanted to show you was, let's say I go through, these are all the kids that had a certain score. I click my assignment heading here, fill blank scores. Remember earlier I said, if you in preferences set it to whatever you want it, when I press this, it just fills all of those blank ones with whatever I told it in preferences to set it to. So let me quickly show you that. Remember in preferences down here at the bottom, we'll go ahead and save and continue. Fill blank scores. So it says when using fill blank scores. So when I use that, fill it with late, fill it with exempt. So you can choose that there. Here's another helpful one though. If I click that assignment heading again, okay, I have my typical buttons. Maybe I messed up the point value, so I can edit the assignment. Maybe I want to see just that assignment for some reason, or I want to see more information. But the other helpful one is the mass modify button. Because let's say I decided, you know, I told the kids this hour got 5 extra points because they did such a great job. So I can go in and say, add 5 points to all scores. Or I can go to say, set all scores to, 20, but don't override the existing. So I went in and put the kids that got less than 20. Now I can just quickly say, fill everybody else in with 20. So it's a helpful way to add, subtract, modify more than one block at a time for an assignment. So that's just a really helpful tool there to save you some time. Okay, so then I press apply. It'll make those changes depending on what I've done. Now, don't forget, I also have, remember that pop out is over here on the right. And this pop out allows me to put in more comments. So if I wanted to add a comment, I can do that. Whoops. So if I want to come into this one, here are my special marks. It wasn't working great for me a second ago. Let me see if it does it now. Oh, maybe it's because I don't have it. EXMT. It should allow you to also type in here. There it is. Apparently I can't type correctly here, but when you type in or start to type in a special mark, and then remember, we may not have all of these because this is a fake account. But when you start to type in a special mark, so if it is exempt or absent or whatever, as I type AB, that pops up for me. Okay. Or here, if it's late, I can start typing that in and move on. Or I can use my drop down here or leave a comment and then move on. And it gives me some, as I move along too, you'll see it does give me some stats on it. So it'll tell me what the mean and medium of that particular score was. It shows me if it's showing on Parent Portal. So you get some more data there too as you kind of go through. Okay, so we again looked at a few things in Gradebook. We just looked at preferences. We looked at how to add an assignment. Remember, when you add an assignment, this allows you to quick add, or you can see all fields. And when you go to all fields, remember, this is where you also have the ability to copy to other classes right away. I didn't show this earlier. This is by default checked, but this means that this score will show on parent or student portal for everybody to see. So that's how you set that up there. Remember, we talked about what the A's mean. The student was absent on the due date of that assignment. C means there's a comment, so you can pop that out to see what the comment is. You can always leave this open as well. This is just about giving you more real estate on your screen so you can see what you need to see, and you can set those preferences there. Okay, down at the bottom, there are a couple more buttons that I do want to show you. One of them is the Canvas button. We have a video on what this looks like. Unfortunately, I can't do it because I don't have a Gradebook set up with a Canvas account, but that is your button that you'll click, which will allow you to create basically a handshake between your SIS and a particular Canvas course, and that will allow the grades to pass back. So if you are starting to use Canvas and you want to know how that grade pass back works, there's a video for you to check out. I can always help you through it. Honestly, if you just go into your Gradebook, press the Canvas button, it's going to walk you through the steps. Once you make that connection one time, you should be connected to that class. You'll see the assignments. You'll choose which assignments you want to bring over into the Gradebook. It will create your columns for you and fill in those scores, which is nice. And that button's just down here at the bottom. You also have a couple other buttons down here. There's a tools button on here. This is where you can copy assignments if you forgot to copy your assignments on that quick add screen. And let's say this essay in here, I also needed to end up in my other algebra class because, you know, you write a lot of essays in your algebra classes. You can click that there if you want to do that. This is where you can view your special marks if you want to see that. Another thing it has is something called indicators. This one's a really cool option if you just want to very quickly visually see when students get up below a certain score on something. So again, where I am is under tools at the bottom, and I'm under indicators, and I'm going to go to add or edit. So in Classic, we've always had indicators, and that's basically turn a cell red if a kid gets above 100%, just to like warn us, you know, you're giving them extra credit. Are you sure you want to do that? Then, of course, you have, is it 0? Mark it yellow. Now in 360, you can add additional indicators. So if you visually also just want to know, maybe it's a low grade indicator, this is just for you. Okay, it doesn't show up on the student end, but this will allow you to apply it to all assignments. You could just do some categories. So if you just wanted it for assessment of learning, let's say, you could do that. But anytime it's between, you know, 0 and let's say 59, I want that background color to turn, you know, this pink as an alert to me. Okay. So I can press save on here. Oh, it wants me to do my text here. That's fine. Okay. And then I can close. So basically then it's going to alert me if a kid is scoring below a certain point value on it. It'll turn it that color. And I can turn those on and off too as well. Our mass tools. So again, you can do a mass email from here if you need to, right from your Gradebook. While it's on your mind, you can do that right in there as well. You can get into the attendance for this particular Gradebook or set of students. And then you have that roster query. So again, Mike, Sam, and I have created videos on the Tech Hub that go over these different things with the data query as one, but this will just look at this hour and allow you to pull whatever fields you want to make a report if you want to do that. Okay. One thing I do want to show you as well. So someone asked, well, what about report card grades? So when it's time, you'll actually go into your grade book here, but you'll go under the report card grades tab. Let me actually go back home and show you what this looks like from here. So again, it's popping up and reminding me you need to save. So let's save. So report card grades for the actual end of term grades, you can just click into each grade book here. This tells me that it's time, they're due. Or if I was in the grade book, I could switch over to that tab. Or under actions, I can get into my report card grades there. I'm just going to go ahead and click. This is the way I like to do it. Then it tells me when I first open it, do I want to import scores? I can also press to import at the bottom. This is then when I can put in my comments here and add my comments. There is a comment list that you can grab as well. I'll show you where that is in a moment. So I can put in the comments, save it, and then the finalize buttons in the bottom right-hand corner. We have a video on how to do this, so you can check that out when it's time, but it all lives inside the gradebook now. It's not a separate, screen you go to get it. It's all right here for you to see when it's time for end of term grading to be submitted. That's right there as well. All right, let me check the Q&A tab real quick. I hope the buffering's better. I'm so sorry. I am recording, so I will share that with you. One thing that I left out, the report comments reminded me of it. Okay, I'm going to go back home. So I'm going to press my home button here. And then across the top, there's a little button that looks like two sheets of paper together. Oh, and I need to show you my favorites thing here too while we're on it. So we're going to end with just a couple of things on the home page. Reports tab. This is where you can get your manual entry rosters. So let me go back and show you again where I am. I'm on my home screen. At the top, I'm clicking my two sheets of paper together, and then you're going to see manual entry rosters here. This is also where you can find your comment list. So there's one in here, report card comment list. If you ever wanted to see that list and have it printed while you're putting in your comments, that's there. But the manual entry rosters, of course, are really nice for when you have a sub or you just want to have a class list that you can take around the room and mark off if you're walking around the room. That's right there. When you click it, it'll allow you to pick your classes and run it. It's the same as in Classic. You can pick your range and you can run. There's a video that shows you how to do this on the Tech Hub as well. The other thing I wanted to show you, which I forgot, I'm so sorry, but this is a perfect ending because it's kind of a cool little thing in here. So earlier I showed you on your home screen, you can press settings, right? And you can choose which cards you want to load here. And I just said that I really like student search and I like my favorites. Okay, well, my favorites is blank right now. So to add my favorites, up here at the top, there's a star, and then it lets you edit favorites or add a current page that you're on as a favorite. So if there was a certain grade book that you really want to get into for some reason every time, or you could add that there. I'm going to go to edit favorites. And one thing that's kind of cool here is I can now let me find it. So you'll see, you may not have all of this, but under my students, I really like this one. So under my students, if I want to very quickly, I just know I'm constantly checking some of my students' grades, let's say. Okay, so under my students, I can check grades. And if there's anything else that I wanted to see about certain students, I could check that. But here's what it does. So I'm gonna press save. So now under my favorites, when I'm here and I press grades, basically it lets me search for a student. Now I had the student pulled up earlier, right? Okay, so I could clear that if I needed to. And that button's right here. This clear the student in focus. So if I press grades, it brings up my whole list. And if I click on a kid, basically it bypasses that screen with all of those cards on it and just brings up this one card. So anytime I click on favorites and click on grades, it's just going to bring up the grades for that student that I searched for. Again, to leave this student view, I'm going to click on my focus button, and then I'm just going to clear it, and then I can find another student. So again, there's a bunch of little things in here that are really cool and helpful. So as you continue to get more comfortable with it, you can kind of start playing around with these. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up now. Thank you so much for taking a little tour. I really challenge you in this last quarter to start using 360. Because remember, you can go back and forth between them right now, but next school year, you will have to use 360 for your grade book and for attendance. Remember, SPED teachers, you're still going into Classic to edit IEPs. They're still moving that piece over, but I challenge you to start getting comfortable now with it, and it'll make it a little easier at the start of the year. I will answer any questions that are on that demo. I'm recording this and I'll share out the recording. And don't forget, again, the Tech Hub has a lot of what I went over today in little videos. So about the homepage, about student info, mass emails, communication log, that data query one's so helpful too. You can check out that one if you want to see certain fields about students and run certain reports, attendance, all of that is right there for you. As always, we as tech coaches are here to support you as well. So if you need anything throughout the year, we're here for you. So just let us know. Thank you all for your time and have a good rest of your day. Happy Monday, guys. See ya.